I'm gonna start by talking about the tokenized T-bills section, and then we'll talk about other tokenized assets. I think, like you said, there's a lot of people bringing tokenized treasuries on chain. I think it's a giant misnomer. It's really dumb that people are calling them tokenized treasuries.
Mm-hmm.
Almost nobody's actually tokenizing treasuries, right? People are tokenizing ETFs. People are tokenizing SPVs. People are tokenizing funds.
Mm-hmm.
I've literally seen nobody actually tokenizing the treasuries or the bills themselves. And there's a big difference. And similar to what we said earlier about the money market funds and breaking the buck, nobody cares about the difference until the crisis happens and then everyone freaks out.
Mm-hmm.
But it behooves us to be careful from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think that you want a vehicle that gives you the closest access to the cash that you can.
Mm-hmm.
You want somebody who is believable and has run funds like this before and isn't going to get caught in a liquidity trap because this is their first rodeo, essentially. You want somebody who's giving you access to that cash in the case of a bankruptcy. There are some structures that you can have that in the case of the company going under, you're not sure what your access to the underlying funds are. There are other structures that give you much more direct access. There are some firms where if rates go up, for example, you're going to lose a bunch of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're holding things with duration. And there are other firms that are going to avoid that duration risk in order to give you the closest you can to that $1 is one token type of relationship. So we're very much focused on understanding what all those nuances are, giving you legal structures that give you those protections, and making that tie-in from a token back to that money that you're trying to get, that yield you're trying to get, as close as possible. And I don't think that's necessarily the focus of much of the industry. Much of the industry is more worried about moving quickly than they are about having that right structure in place to protect your money. But that being said, the space has a lot of room to grow. Money markets are an enormous industry within the U.S. And there are many ways to kind of, what do they say, skin the cat, kind of a macabre image, but there's a lot of ways to do it, and I just say try to be careful about how you get there. I think that's something that is going to come to light eventually, always does, but it could be a while. For the non-treasury bill or non-yield related RWAs, again, got to be careful. I think eventually, as I mentioned earlier, all financial assets are going to settle on chain. Does that necessarily mean tokenizing them? I'm less certain about that. I think it makes a lot of sense for the blockchain itself to be the core point of reference, right? That's the actual ledger where things settle. If you're settling them somewhere else and then having to wrap them to be a token, it often makes less sense. And if it's a physical asset, gold, oil, real estate all come to mind. It's not obvious to me that it makes that much more sense either. We're pretty good at that stuff in the TradFi space. And once you've wrapped it in whatever traditional wrapper you're putting it in, throwing that on chain after that, not obvious how much sense that makes either.